Hi everyone! So on February 4th, it's gonna be an anniversary, 5 years of the first video of Faith, the Wing Saga restyling video that I've gained traction on. And it's kinda crazy that some of you have been here since then, which is since BC, before cancer. I want to do a fun competition with a winner and 2 finalists that are all gonna get packages of fun little prizes, nostalgic technology, some references to the channel lore, makeup, coffee and coffee adjacent tools and stuff like that. We'll call this Fevralathon of 2026 since it is in February, and Fevral means February as well. So your assignment is to make edits like videos or shorts that you can plug in the community page of this channel. Whichever one is going to have the most likes and comments and the audience is going to like the most are going to be the winners. If we have a hard time with it, I'll figure something out in terms of a voting system. This videos can be anything, but the overall point is for you to make each other laugh by using our collective lore from this channel and the podcast and the gaming channel, all of that kind of stuff. Basically just reminisce about our inside jokes, or better yet, create new ones. Just to give you an idea, you can do compilations or comparisons like I do in my videos. Coriolanus is such a daffy duck in his head.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of my walls going back up. Pathetic.
Any weird things that you have thought about the channel in the past 5 years, or just clip something from the videos that you think is funny for you and post it as a short. You can just use the remix tool on YouTube and just post that. It can be as easy as that, as long as it makes somebody laugh. Since everyone's busy and many of us got our jobs and whatever, the competition time is going to be a whole month until February 23rd. There's a post that describes all of this on the community posts. So let the festivities begin! I'm sure you've noticed in the past few years, not even few, girl, 10, 13 or 12 years, there has been an onslaught of constant movement online. And it's not just online, obviously, but it's one of the most frustrating things in my opinion. And that is the implementation of ads that move, ads that pop up, videos autoplay. Even when they're not advertisements, they still autoplay. Knowing what's going on, knowing what's popular, yada yada yada, is kind of like, you know, part of my job, I guess. Not necessarily popular in a sense of like what's trending, but it is in terms of having to constantly be online looking for information, adding images or videos or clips or whatever the hell into my videos just to have a lot of context and other things like that in the video itself. And I think, of course, this is partially due to the fact that this is a job to me. There's an onslaught of never-ending movement 24/7 in our periphery whenever we try to do anything online, to the point where a lot of fucking websites are unusable. It's especially detrimental for websites that are useful, that are supposed to be used for referencing some information, articles, journals. Just in going on websites like Genius, why the fuck is it that loaded with crap to the point where it is impossible to scroll? It overheats your device. All of this is to say that I've been kind of extremely annoyed with the state of technology in terms of just how incredibly not only inconvenient it is, but how much it impedes any sort of progress or any sort of work that you could do, constantly trying to stop you in your tracks and make you look at something that they want you to look at instead of what you want to look at. This is a really interesting thing to me, the whole topic of autoplay, because people were really mad about autoplay when it was implemented. The first implementation of it en masse was on Facebook. Obviously, there were other things like other websites that had journals, like blogs and stuff like that, where you could put music and the music would autoplay. But that's kind of very different than random autoplay that's constantly on any device that you use, right? So autoplay was not very liked when it came out. Interesting to look back and like to browse around trying to find some information on autoplay and how this came to be and why it's here, you know? And realize that nobody liked it back then. Everyone was complaining about it in 2013 and 2014, 15. There's even articles from 2017 that literally say the rise and fall of autoplay video in 5 charts. There's just so much absolutely undeniable evidence that people don't like this feature, and they don't like it to this fucking day, okay? This isn't what it was implemented for most of the time. It was usually used for videos that are posted on the platform, and they just kind of started autoplaying it. That's why there were so many people who would suddenly start posting on Facebook when they weren't. People like, what was his name? Brent Rivera. Isn't it fucking weird that there's so much evidence that it's actually something that made all the apps less usable, all the apps more annoying to deal with, and yet all of these execs still stuck with it. This is obviously, once again, a conversation about the fact that we are consistently forced to deal with things that we do not enjoy and do not like, even in spaces where they need us, they need our attention, they need us to show up on these websites, they need us to pay attention, yet they just cannot stop making everything more annoying to use. And I just don't understand. No, I understand that this is literally was their way of just like getting paid for promotion, for advertising and other things like that, without actually having to plug in the ad into anything specific. Like, you just kind of start playing it wherever. And to me, the last straw was recently, because again, I'm so sick and tired of the state of YouTube. The content here has gotten so stale that I genuinely, I don't know why this happened. As a viewer, there's been a change, okay? I don't know what the fuck happened. Regardless, the last straw for me was having to deal with YouTube doing it, okay? By autoplay, I mean specifically this, you know, like when you open it on desktop, you've got all of these like videos, whatever, and there's one in the left upper corner that starts to fucking play. It used to be just like an ad, right? Like you could click on it, whatever. Now this bitch starts playing immediately as soon as you open fucking YouTube. You haven't even clicked, you haven't even chosen what you were gonna play, what you were gonna watch, what you were gonna do, if you even want to watch anything on the platform. And it is so infuriating, okay, that it starts to play and there's always something moving in the peripheral vision. Like, it's constantly, there's constant fucking movement. And it's normal when it's in real life. It can still annoy you, of course, but it's normal when it's in real life. You're like doing whatever you're doing, there's someone passing by, whatever the fuck. That's pretty normal. But it's also movement with a purpose, which is something that I do want to underline here. I think what really makes it an annoying addition to our daily lives is the fact that whenever it is movement that's for the, you know, for the advertising purposes, the movement is pointless. This is the type of movement that technically has a motive. Obviously, they want to sell something to you. That's why there's an ad there. That's why it's fucking moving and trying to get your attention and other things like that. But there's also this thing of it being obviously it's not a sentient being that's going somewhere or doing something or whatever. So it has a lot more of this useless energy, which is something that's been kind of bothering me a lot about a lot of things in general, especially with the rise of AI and stuff like that. It's specifically the never-ending useless motion, useless advancements, which are not actually advancements, just the amount of emails, bitch, fuck, I seriously cannot, I'm at my wit's end. That's why I had to make a video on this, dude. But the amount of emails that I get that are written by ChatGPT or some kind of other, what is it, LML, fucking MLM, that's what it is, emails that I get that are extremely long, okay? It's not that there is a lot of information to absorb. If you distill the information, there's only a sentence, and a short one at that, of information that actually needed to be shared, that needed to be sent, you know? Do not fucking send me an AI written email. Don't you fucking dare. I'm not reading 5 paragraphs of nonsense that a machine has compiled just so I can respond to you, if I even want to, bitch. But on top of it all, when you tell people like, don't fucking send long ass emails that have no fucking point, that ChatGPT just pulled out of its ass, people go, well, you can just summarize it with AI. And it's like, fucking hell, what is going on? It's like everything is a waste of time. It's created to waste your time. It's created to emulate value. everything is about emulation of value. Everything is about inflation of value that isn't fucking there. It's the same thing with those advertisements. Who on the fuck of the earth looked at the advertisement in the left upper corner of the YouTube layout, the homepage, and clicked on it? Who's ever found it useful? Even the most consumption brain rotted person, who looks at it and goes, oh, let me click on that? Have you ever clicked on it? You know, there's a lot of visual art theory that's specifically about the moving image, right? Usually the way that it addresses this is through conversation about movies. It's about early movies specifically, right? The most famous example of that is The Society of the Spectacle by Guy Debord. It's kind of the Situationist movement most well-known work, regardless of whether you're interested in contemporary art or not, regardless of whether you read art theory or anything like that, like you don't really have to. There's definitely a lot of conversation that happened around that. Most of it boils down to the fact that a lot of this representation around us oftentimes creates these ideas in our brains of who we are. Not because it's like brainwashing or something, but because seeing life so much in front of you on the screen makes you expect life to look a certain way. So you oftentimes start to mold yourself into the images that you consume. So there's like this closed loop between what we see on the screen, who we are, and how we over time become what we presented on the screen, making copies of ourselves in terms of image, right? And this is what's so annoying. It's all of this movement that we are subjected to nowadays doesn't even do that anymore, because it doesn't speak to our lived experience at all. The amount of people who pull out 15 colors of lipstick and they're like, you know, when you really need this specific shade of lipstick, it doesn't fit into your collection, so you need to buy all of this like new stuff to organize it in a different way. And it's like, no, I don't, bitch. Who are you talking about? Who are you talking to? Seriously, what is going on? And I think that a part of this, why it's frustrating even from a professional sense, even from a sense of somebody who reads a lot of art theory, and this is kind of a part of my education, my job, everything, to talk about creation of images. Like, this is quite literally fundamental pillars of what I have to do for my work, not only here, but in general, like outside of YouTube. And I just can't fucking understand how we're supposed to build or imagine a future for ourselves when every single thing that we produce and consume is just such devoid of direction and meaning slop. The AI shit, all of this, it's not helping with the whole situation, okay? Just having to see so many people bring up Luddites and stuff like that, and it's like such a tired thing to say, because in many ways it's like, brother, if you haven't realized how not applicable this whole thing is to this conversation, you have to do it on your own. I don't think that any adult should ever spend any more time explaining to you how this is a really weak argument to begin with. But also on top of it all, progress for progress' sake is the same thing as movement for movement's sake. And who has been obsessed with that shit forever?
Do you by chance have a gun I could borrow?
Western European futurists. Right, yeah. I'm gonna link the video that I made on futurists just so you guys have some kind of framework of who futurists are, because there are two different types of futurists. There's the Eastern European futurists, and then there's the Western European futurists, and they kind of split in the beginning of the 20th century because basically having very different views on what movement represented and meant to them in their work. The guys who were obsessed with destroying shit for destruction's sake, the ones that were obsessed with movement and progress and technology for the technology's sake, which is very similar to our freaks like Palantir and other, like, what is his name? Peter Thiel?
I think AI will probably, most likely sort of lead to the end of the world, but in the meantime, there will be great companies created with serious machine learning.
Some other mofo, they're all like really weird in terms of how they even move and talk. Such weirdos, I swear to God. But those guys, the techno-feudal bullshit that they're peddling, they're very much in the same boat as futurists. There's some kind of deification of movement and industrialization and this technology progress that they are trying to sell to the masses as like, you know, like progress is always going to be good. And that's the thing, that what they call progress is usually just movement. And the movement of images online, the movement of this mini windows on top of window that you're actually looking at, all of these automatically like autoplayed fucking videos that are all over the place, all of that shit, like such a perfect fucking metaphor for the way that the movement in our age is used as an excuse to cause harm, and especially to basically create vacuous value, which isn't value at all. Making matter vacuum and then saying that because that vacuum is occupying such a huge space, because it has completely pushed everything that is of actual material reality, like an actual material thing, out of the existence, they think that just because it takes up so much space, it is now of value to us. They think that they can just tell us, look at how huge this thing is, look how much space it's taking up, look at how much it's wasting in terms of your time, how much you have to constantly work around it. That means it's progress. That means that it's just technological advancement and you need to catch up. And this is idiotic on so many fucking levels, where I can't even get into it here without losing my fucking mind or going on for like 2 hours on a whole like lecture-esque tangent, because just the pointlessness, vacuousness of everything, the movement of these goddamn images is just like the type of jobs that we have to do in the Imperial Core, unless we are doing jobs that are materially connected to the reality. People who do this physical labor cannot be replaced, at least not now. They are replacing artists, they're replacing everything and everyone, but they can't replace the physical labor, which is so funny because they actually, this is what they used most to try and buy people into supporting this technological advancements for technological advancement's sake type deal. Instead we get dumber, instead we get to not enjoy the experiences of a human being in any capacity, but what we do get to enjoy is constant fucking images that are ugly as balls, created by idiots that have no taste, no vision, nothing to say. And the more vacuous this shit is, the higher they get up in the system. And this is the reason, literally the reason why all of the shit that you're watching, all of the shit that used to bring you joy, even if temporarily, and even if that's kind of like circuses, part of circuses and bread, you know, like it's kind of not the ideal situation, not what you should be doing per se, but it was still something that was enjoyable to you. This is why we can't even enjoy that shit anymore, because this is what you get when human things get devalued and get stomped out for the sake of this futurist forward momentum. If you ever want to figure out what the fuck I mean about futurist momentum and whatever, watch the podcast episode that I linked, and also read the manifesto on your own if you want to. The Futurist Manifesto, that is the original one by the Italian futurists. This is going to give you a bit more perspective as to why there's such a huge, and I mean huge, connection between images speed, being obsessed with worshipping speed as if it has inherent value, whether it's positive or negative, right? And why all of those concepts are connected to the worship of waste, war, and fascism. Yeah, I'm back on my shit, bitch. Yeah, I am. Because how else? What am I supposed to tell you? This is all very much connected. Unfortunately, very easy to see because it's so textbook. Like if you've ever studied anything related to this shit, to art, to modernist art, yeah, like we're all just shaking our boots, knowing what the fuck is up. But yeah, this video is just to say, YouTube, remove that autoplayable fucking ad. I can't stand it. I can't stand any of this shit. I can't stand the fact that it's this constant assault of the senses. This is what we get anywhere and everywhere we go. Whatever, bitch. Hope you're having a good day.